why do you need me, white TV host from New York, to be the person that points a camera at your protest? People got a lot more control over their own stories. And that's profound and powerful.
It was social media that propelled the Black Lives Matter movement onto a global stage.
Yes, I will, sir. I'll keep my hands where they are.
When cell phone images of unarmed African Americans killed by police went viral.
The body of Michael Brown laying on that ground for 4.5 hours shocked America back into its consciousness once again. It woke so many people up that thought Emmett Till was a figment of the past and not a very relevant figure of the present. Emmett Till is Michael Brown and Tamir Rice and Sandra Bland and Eric Garner and all of those folks, because they woke us up once again.
All I can say is it's really hard to admit that things are still the same, and I don't know how people put up with it. I really don't. But I'm angry at Al Sharpton.
We are tired of our men not being able to be men because they can't find work. We're tired of working full-time jobs for part-time income.
With the rise of Black Power, Martin Luther King's agenda, while still nonviolent, shifted.
We are tired of living in dilapidated, rat-infested shacks and slums.
He began to voice an even more radical denunciation of American society. To broaden his message beyond the civil rights platform, King took his movement north, where he encountered a backlash.
If there was progress in the South, there was violent resistance in the North. The nation suddenly learned what it should have known, that racial prejudice was not just a Southern problem. It was nationwide.
King takes his campaign to Chicago when he moves into the ghettos there. People felt very differently when the microscope was being turned upon their own communities.
I have never seen, even in Mississippi and Alabama, mobs as hostile and as hate-filled as I'm seeing
That's
in Chicago.
future Trump supporters.
Shaken but undeterred, King returned south. He arrived in Memphis, Tennessee in March 1968 to show support for striking sanitation workers.
A lot of King's advisors tell him, don't go to Memphis. It's going to take away from your message. It's going to take away from your planning. The King insists. We're here to help garbage workers. These are the exact types of people we're supposed to be helping.
April 4th, 1968.
Strangely enough,
Martin Luther King Jr.
April 4th was my wedding day, and I think that means if I had known that that was the date that Martin Luther King was shot, I wouldn't have ever chosen that date for a marriage date, and it probably did predict the disaster that became my marriage, because being married to someone who I have no shared values with was really not a good idea. And I want to talk about that later on, but let's finish this one.
Stepped out of room 306 onto the balcony of the Lorraine Motel.
He's probably
He
one of
told
the
his young-
people that I admire the most, because he really has values. He cares about other people and he goes after it, and he leads people towards an important cause, which is that against discrimination based on skin color and equality for people. And I think that that goal is still needs to be achieved. And I was like reading something really interesting in the Israeli media about the biblical portion, Korach. There was this biblical, every week you read something from the Bible, and it said why God allowed people, they said, we are all holy people, and then they were killed. They didn't want Moses and Aaron to lead the people, and they wanted to say that everybody's holy. But the problem with people saying everybody's holy, that saying that we are holy by birth, by we have a quality of being holy, is actually being racist. It's actually what the white supremacists are saying. We're all great. We're actually what God's intention was, or at least the superior, the creating force in the universe was, that holiness is something you strive for through your life, and you have all these choices and all these dilemmas, and what kind of person do you want to become? So holiness, if you say I'm holy already, I'm like great, I am great, like, you're not great. Being great is being great is an achievement. It's something you strive for. And all those people that think they're so wonderful just because they're born, they're like, I really am disgusted by people that think they're born in some sort of a status and that they're better than others because of that. I think that is disgusting. I think holiness is something to strive for, and that man certainly proved it. And white supremacists, or whatever feeling you have of supremacy over another person, has to do with very wrong values, and I think that is not what the creating force of the universe wanted. I think the creating force of the universe wants us to strive to be better people, to strive to be always a better version of ourselves, and to reinvent ourselves, and to definitely not allow people to be treated in a discriminatory way based on their skin color or gender or anything. I think that's the problem with people like Candace Owen, who's like, oh, I hate feminists, we're like, this is what's wrong with hardcore conservatives. Conservatives? Wait, I'm like showing over this word. Hardcore right-wing conservatives who don't want to change things. Because Candace Owens thinks she's really being cute when she says, oh, I don't want to be a feminist. I want to change women. Everything is just great. I want to be a mother. I want to be a wife. But you're not, are you? You don't have a kid. You're not home. You're not home with kids. You're out there and people listen to you. And then they attack people who dare to mention violent men. No, my grandfather was great. All those people that bring in their own personal experience. Candace Owen, you had a great family, you had a really wonderful grandfather, and everybody treated you nicely. Obviously, you're a strong woman. Great, good for you. But there are many people out there suffering because of their gender, because of their skin color. So when you say, talk to me with thoughts, not feelings, passion, the passionate way she speaks is also feelings. You cannot tell a person not to feel, because that's where we know something is wrong or right. It is with feelings and intuition, and to cancel out intuition and to think, oh, I have statistics that black people are doing quite well actually, or women are doing just wonderful, and isn't it the worst thing is to be alone, as if women are not alone in a marriage, as if men are being picked on. Well, look at statistics at how many women are murdered, and most of the time they're murdered by people that are closest to them. Look at statistics you're like, oh no, not so many. You're more likely to be shot by the police if you're white. Oh, great. But white people in America don't have to be afraid that the police is going to pick on them. And that's the big difference. And I don't know what makes this Candace Owens discount the fear people have in America.